Hi, it's Leanne Poston. This is week 3 of our comparison of Canvas by Instructure with D2L by Brightspace. So today we're going to be looking at Canvas, and the first thing that we want to look at is the electronic gradebook category items and changing the settings. So I'm going to click on Grade so we can take a look at the gradebook. You'll see that in Canvas, the gradebook is not specifically set up. Instead, individual assignments are set up and then they self-populate the gradebook. You also have the option of importing and exporting gradebooks as CSV files if you've already set them up. When an assignment is set up, you can see secondary IDs, the individual assignments, the scores, and the totals for the assignments. And you can rearrange these columns, resize them, rename them, whatever it is that you need to do. Here is the settings section of the gradebook, and you can see there's a number of different options here: hiding the names, arranging the columns, treating ungraded as 0, showing concluded enrollments, showing inactive enrollments, and showing the note cards. And in addition to that, with your gradebook, you can see statistics such as the high, low, and average on each assignment. So if we are going to go back to set up our categories, what we're going to do is, if you'll recall, we have to start with an assignment. So I'm going to click on Assignments here, and this will self-populate the gradebook. Now, the first thing you're going to have to decide is whether you want your assignment to be grouped together and organized. And to do that, all you do is click on Group and put the group name and then save it. And you can click and drag these groups and these assignments around. And then we're going to go ahead and click on Creating an Assignment. And this will allow you to create your assignment here. So you can give it a name and you can put the information in there as far as what the assignment requires, how many points it's worth, and then you can decide what assignment group you want to put it in. You can see I put categories for each of the different weeks. Display it as points. You can also use an external tool. So I'm going to talk a minute about Turnitin right now, since the next thing that we were supposed to do is create a Dropbox assignment using Turnitin in a grading rubric. You can't specifically have something called, or you don't specifically have something called Dropbox in Canvas, but you do have assignments, and they're the same thing. So you can create this assignment and have students upload a file to it. But in order to use Turnitin.com, what you'll do is use an external tool URL. So you can see that there are a number of different external tools, and you would find your tool. Now, in the free version here of Canvas, that's not an option, but it is accessible and the school can use it. I'm going to go back to the top, and since an assignment is really our Dropbox, I'm going to go ahead and show you a brief description of it. So you're going to name your assignment, provide a description. Then you're going to put the point value, determine what group you want to put it in, and whether you want to display the grade as points. Determine whether you want to use Turnitin.com, whether you want the moderator to review multiple independent grades for selected submissions, whether you want to assign this to everybody, or if there's just certain students or certain groups that you want to assign it to, and then the availability of the assignment. All right, and then after you're done with that, you'll save and publish the assignment. So the next thing that we needed to do was create a rubric. So all you do is click back on the assignment of interest. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my week 1 Dropbox here. And at the bottom of the screen, we have the option of adding a rubric. And with your rubric, you can find a rubric if you've already created one in the past. You can write just free-form comments when you're assessing the students. You can hide the rubric, or you can hide the score. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Find a Rubric, and you can see that I already have one called Weebly Workshop. And for this rubric, it's very straightforward. It's got a grid, and you just click the number of criteria that you want to use, and then the number of different levels that you want to and how many points it's going to be worth. And notice that there are also free rubrics that you can import into there as well. All right, the next assignment that we had was to create a quiz questions in our question library. So first we're going to click on quizzes in the left panel here. And then notice the gear up here, and it says Manage Question Banks. So this is our current question bank, and you can see I already have some questions there. But if you want to add a question to your question bank, you merely click on Add a Question, and you can choose what kind of question you want, write out the question, the number of points, and then the comments that you would want to make about the question. And then you have to choose with your arrow which one is the correct answer. So very straightforward with your quiz. And then further down, after you have made your quiz library, the next thing you're going to want to do is actually make a quiz. So I'm going to go over to quizzes, and I am going to start a new quiz. And you name your quiz and give it instructions. Decide whether it's a graded or ungraded, a survey or a quiz. What group you want the quiz to be under. Remember, we made those categories for weeks 1 through 5. Whether you want to shuffle the answers, allow multiple attempts, whether you want them to see their quiz responses or whether you want them to see the correct answers, whether you need an access code or filter IP addresses, whether you want to assign the quiz to everyone or just to certain students, and then the due date and when it's available. And then you go to get yourself questions, and you can either type individual questions or you can find your questions from your question bank that you just set up. So I can select all of these questions and then choose them to add to my quiz. All right, the last thing we were to do is to perform a quality check in Canvas as a student. So we're going to go up to Settings, and once we go to Settings on the left-hand side, we're going to have this option of looking at it under Student View. All right, here we are now as a student, so I can go to Quizzes and see that there are quizzes available for me to take. Week 1's quiz is ready to go, so I can click on it and go ahead and take this quiz. All right, this purplish border down at the bottom tells you you're in the student view. And when you're done, you merely click on this to leave the student view. So as you can see, Canvas is very intuitive. It might not have quite as many steps as D2L does, and it doesn't require quite the training that D2L does. So for a new instructor, it's the ideal choice. It doesn't have quite the visual appeal and the organization of D2L, however. So for a more experienced person, D2L might be preferred. Well, thank you for joining me today. We'll see you next week as we look at more of the tools.